On June 29, Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto made a high-profile appearance at the groundbreaking ceremony for a $5.9 billion new energy battery center invested by Chinese enterprises. He declared a commitment to building a complete industry chain with China. However, just 48 hours later, Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs, Erlangga Hartarto, surprised many by proposing a rare earth cooperation plan with the United States during US-Indonesia tariff negotiations. This move, aiming to jointly develop Indonesia's rare earth resources, was a clear attempt to get the US to cancel its 32% reciprocal tariffs. This all unfolds against the backdrop of the impending US deadline for tariff negotiations with its trade partners. In early April, President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariff policy gained momentum, but was quickly paused. Trump realized that strict enforcement would lead to significant losses for the US itself. Thus, he introduced a 90-day buffer period, demanding that all nations present a satisfactory trade agreement to the US by July 9, just 8 days away. Indonesia's proactive offer to cooperate with the US on nickel resource development is a direct response to fear of high US tariffs once this deadline passes. They are clearly trying to make a last-minute compromise. According to US media outlet CNBC, on June 30th, Indonesian Economic Minister Hartarto stated that Indonesia had proposed a joint investment and development project for nickel mineral resources during tariff negotiations with the US. It's evident that Indonesia intends to offer the US a solution to its rare earth needs. However, China has previously stated that no country should negotiate with the US at China's expense, or face the consequences. While China won't interfere with Indonesia's cooperation with the US, it's worth noting that over the past 3 months, China has been the sole nation to directly resist the US's reciprocal tariffs on most countries. Rare earths are a crucial strategic leverage point for China against the US. Indonesia discussing rare earth cooperation with the US at this juncture feels like a betrayal. Nickel is a dual-use mineral, essential for both civilian and military applications. In the civilian sector, it's vital for stainless steel, power batteries in new energy vehicles, and special alloy production. Militarily, nickel is an indispensable performance enhancer, directly impacting the extreme capabilities of equipment. Russian nuclear submarines, for instance, rely on nickel to prevent their hulls from fracturing under deep sea pressure. Additionally, nickel is used in radar components, electromagnetic systems, and aero engine manufacturing. China's control over nickel is exceptionally high, accounting for over 75% of global refined nickel production. Trump's desire to prevent China from monopolizing such a critical mineral has driven his efforts to promote a domestic nickel supply chain. Indonesia's timely offer to jointly develop nickel mineral projects with the US is a welcome gift for Trump. While Indonesia is a smaller nation and its compromises under US pressure are somewhat understandable, it's problematic that they are offering the fruits of Chinese investment to the US. Indonesia boasts significant nickel reserves, nearly 1/5 of the global total, but it lacks the refining capabilities. China has invested significantly, providing capital and technology to develop Indonesia's gold mountain, gradually elevating Indonesia to a leading position in the global nickel smelting industry. Now, after benefiting from China's contributions, Indonesia is offering the nickel mineral project to the US. Is this not a betrayal, a double-dealing move to undermine China? What's particularly galling is that Indonesia, a core ASEAN member, has consistently supported China's stance on issues like the South China Sea and trade cooperation. In return, China has provided substantial assistance. For example, on June 29th, Indonesia's largest new energy vehicle battery production center was officially inaugurated. This $5.9 billion project, led by China and involving multiple companies, covers everything from mineral development and smelting to battery material recycling and manufacturing, essentially a complete battery production industry chain built by Chinese enterprises in Indonesia. This has created numerous job opportunities for Indonesians and opened up new economic possibilities for the country. President Prabowo himself attended the main ceremony, expressing profound gratitude for the collaboration with brothers and sisters from China on this extraordinary breakthrough that will produce renewable and environmentally friendly energy desired by the whole world. The presence of Chinese ambassador to Indonesia Wang Lutong underscored the importance both nations placed on the project. This cooperation has effectively resolved Indonesia's major challenges. Lacking key technology, Indonesia struggled in the new energy sector. Chinese technological investment has diversified Indonesia's nickel exports, allowing them to benefit from battery production directly. Moreover, with Southeast Asian nations largely uninitiated in new energy batteries, China-Indonesia cooperation sets a precedent. As China and Indonesia jointly develop, Indonesia is poised to become a regional leader, achieving independent new energy development. Crucially, the successful implementation of this project will undoubtedly drive rapid economic growth, creating 35,000 jobs and addressing local employment needs. Perhaps Indonesia believes it can, like India, play both sides in the US-China rivalry and benefit from both. However, this is clearly not the case. Indonesia is currently in a lose-lose situation, having neither fully integrated into the Western system nor avoided damaging ties with the Eastern superpower, leading to strategic isolation. India's current predicament proves this path is unsustainable. Indonesia should exercise strategic foresight and avoid India's arduous journey. Indonesia's actions set a poor precedent. If the deadline passes and most countries uphold a united no-compromise stance, Trump's stubbornness would lead to global tariffs, inevitably backfiring on the US. However, Indonesia's current proactive compromise complicates the efforts of other resisting nations to maintain a non-compromise consensus. If more countries follow Indonesia's lead, Trump might succeed in creating a prisoner's dilemma for global nations. Frankly, this incident won't significantly impact China's rare earth strategy. While Indonesia possesses the world's fifth largest rare earth reserves, its sole rare earth processing plant relies on China for magnet processing qualifications, meaning China controls the technical lifeline. If necessary, China could terminate its support for Indonesia's rare earth processing facilities. If Indonesia attempts self-refining, they simply lack the funds. Indonesian rare earth ores have low grades, making separation costs 30% higher than China's. Without China's technology, refining costs would double. As for US technology transfer, it's likely an empty promise. Their refining technology is 15 years behind China, a 2-generation gap, and they struggle with domestic production. Nevertheless, this does not justify Indonesia offering rare earths to the US in exchange for tariff concessions. China has assisted Indonesia in building battery manufacturing plants. Why should China passively allow Indonesia to appease the US and harm its own interests on the rare earth issue? Faced with US pressure and economic sanctions, Indonesia had many options but chose to submit. This is unacceptable to China. While understanding China's desire for amicable relations, sometimes necessary deterrents are crucial. China should appropriately reward and punish countries to maintain its credibility and ensure adherence. Otherwise, countries might align with China for benefits, then switch to the US when threatened, only to apologize to China later. Such a distorted state is problematic. Worse, it could lead to a situation akin to Albania, where small kindnesses are forgotten, but larger ones breed resentment. Therefore, China could teach Indonesia a lesson by suspending the transfer of nickel-hydrogen battery anode material technology, delaying project funding, or accelerating the mass production of nickel-free batteries. This would show them that the current global political landscape does not accommodate fence-sitting. China must demonstrate both its integrity and its authority. Who would have thought that a 1600-kilometer round trip by China's high-speed rail could be completed in less than 9 hours? And if paid in rupees, it would cost only about 8,000 Indian rupees. On June 24th, Bansal, CEO of Indian photography equipment manufacturer Skyvik, shared his experience on X, formerly Twitter, sparking widespread discussion among Indian netizens. His post received over 20,000 likes. Bansal's experience resonated with many Indian netizens, yet some also expressed envy and frustration, not just at Bansal, but also vigorously defending India's reputation. Bansal's post included photos of the Chinese high-speed train and its interior, one showing the train speed at 247 kilometers per hour. I traveled 1,600 kilometers in one day just to attend a 3-hour meeting, and I wasn't even tired, Bansal excitedly wrote, emphasizing the immense convenience of life in China. I departed by high-speed rail in the morning, an 800 kilometers one-way trip, and after the meeting, I could go home and sleep in my own bed that same night. He also shared images of the spacious and immaculate high-speed rail stations. The high-speed rail stations are all huge. You just need to enter the platform 10 minutes before departure. Check in Gaddison, both the east and west sides open simultaneously. You just swipe your ID card or passport, and the gates open automatically. If you arrive early, you can change your ticket at the counter. Bansal, unable to contain his enthusiasm, added more observations. The seats in the station can accommodate tens of thousands of people. About 30% are massage chairs. You just spend about 100 rupees to enjoy a massage while waiting for the train. Everything is orderly, without any mess. Once, I arrived half an hour early, and a security guard checked my ticket, then proactively took me to the counter to help me change to a train departing 10 minutes later. I didn't say a word, he did it all on his own. Many Indian netizens who had lived in China strongly agreed with Bansal's descriptions. The price is too good. I took the high-speed rail from Shanghai to Suzhou. It covered 130 kilometers in 25 minutes, about 45 RMB one way. In 2023, China's per capita GDP was about 12,614, while India's was about $2,481. I think ordinary Chinese workers and entrepreneurs can easily afford this ticket if they're in a hurry. I don't deny that China's infrastructure is better than India's. I've been there and completely agree with everything you said. Unfortunately, this kind of scene will never be seen in India because we prefer empty talk and have never realized what a high quality of life means. Great experience, worth praising, but for various reasons, we won't do it. The primary reason is jealousy. We can't develop like China, but we still use the excuse that we are a democratic country. This is a cowardly excuse. India has also completed many railway projects in the past decade, but which one can boast like China? Undoubtedly, China is 20 years ahead of India. Other countries are still showing off missiles, while China is quietly winning. This is what I've always said. Learn from China. China is far ahead of the world in technology. Instead of criticizing China, learn from them and develop technology together. However, driven by prejudice against China, some netizens attack China's infrastructure over alleged human rights and debt issues. Others directed their frustration at Bansal. You people are fake entrepreneurs in India. You import products from abroad by the kilogram, then brand them and sell them. Your brands don't provide any employment opportunities for Indians. You make huge profits from these Chinese goods. Some tried to boost morale. Stop comparing China and India. Since Modi came to power, India has been developing at a very fast pace. India is full of bureaucratic reservation systems, lacks work culture and accountability mechanisms. In contrast to so-called democratic countries, China is completely the opposite. China took 30 years to develop to where it is today. Please give India the same time. The statement, Indian high-speed rail is 10 years ahead of China, was once the audacious claim of Indian travel blogger Rana. He not only confidently repeated this in his videos, but even unceremoniously mocked China's railway system, believing that India's Vande Bharat Express was the global benchmark for high-speed rail. After all, this train, with the top speed of 180 kilometers per hour, encapsulated the immense pride of the Indian people. He himself truly believed in this 10 years ahead assertion until he came to China. Rana's story had a fascinating beginning. He eagerly set foot on Chinese soil, ready to personally experience China's high-speed rail and witness the supposedly backward railway system. However, the reality instantly shattered his confidence. As he exited Shanghai Hongqiao Station, the sight before him made him feel like he had stepped into a futuristic city. The station was like a colossal maze, bustling with people, yet perfectly orderly, resembling a modern metropolis. But what shocked him most was not its sheer size, but the high-speed trains themselves. He boarded China's Fuxing Hao high-speed train, a journey that completely redefined his understanding of high-speed rail. From the comfort of the seats to the cleanliness of the carriages, every detail surprised him. Most astonishing was the train's speed. Although the smooth ride within the carriage made him barely feel the train speeding, when he saw the speed displayed on the in-car screen, he simply couldn't believe his eyes. 350 kilometers per hour. India's Vande Bharat Express has a top speed of only 180 kilometers per hour. This stark comparison immediately made Rana realize that his 10 years ahead claim was merely self-delusion. Even more captivating, Rana found everything about China's high-speed rail felt futuristic. Inside the carriage, he not only enjoyed comfortable seating, but also discovered convenient features like automatic meal ordering and snack delivery. Can you imagine being on a high-speed train where you can not only eat various snacks, but also scan a code to order food? He wondered. All of this would be unimaginable on an Indian train. Sitting there, he suddenly felt as if he had traveled to the future. He even began to question whether his previous fantasies about Indian high-speed rail had been overly idealized. Rana's thoughts then drifted back to India, recalling the scenes on Indian trains, typically crowded carriages, persistent hygiene issues, and the constant stream of vendors selling snacks. Comparing this to China's high-speed rail, it was a world apart. He couldn't help but sigh, realizing that India's railways were indeed awkwardly outdated. Historically, India's railway system once held a prominent position in Asia. As early as the mid-19th century, India was the first Asian country to have railways and made rapid progress in their construction. However, after independence, economic development slowed, and the pace of railway construction gradually decelerated. Today, most of India's railway system remains a legacy of the colonial era, with antiquated facilities and lax management. In stark contrast, the rapid development of China's railways, especially the rise of high-speed rail, is truly astounding. One might wonder if India's unsatisfactory railway facilities are confined to its major cities. But in reality, even India's railway stations often leave people aghast. They are typically characterized by massive crowds, polluted air, and an environment so unpleasant that one instinctively wants to flee. In contrast, China's high-speed rail stations are not only clean and modern, but even in areas far from major metropolises, the infrastructure is top-notch. Standing at Beijing South Station, Rana marveled, unable to comprehend how China had achieved such a colossal leap in such a short period. Of course, Rana is not the only Indian to be profoundly impressed by China's high-speed rail. Another Indian blogger, Sujit, also expressed similar sentiments after experiencing China's high-speed rail. "Our trains can only travel 70 kilometers in 2 hours," he said in a video, his eyes filled with shock and emotion. It seems India's long-held pride becomes a source of ridicule when confronted with China's high-speed rail. This stark contrast highlights the vast disparity in Indians' understanding of China's railway development. While India's railway system once held a significant position in Asia, China's rapid development, particularly the ascendancy of high-speed rail, has left India's railways far behind. Today, India's railways remain stuck in the past, facing annual breakdowns, derailments, and safety hazards. India's high-speed rail technology simply cannot be compared to China's. In truth, today's China has far surpassed India in many aspects. Whether in high-speed rail construction, urbanization, technological advancement, or human quality, China leads the world. Perhaps India needs to learn from this time-traveling experience and re-examine its own development path. Who knows, perhaps one day in the future, India too can bridge this gap and usher in its own new era of high-speed rail. Regardless, China's high-speed rail has become a symbol of China's modernization, and these fuxing Hao trains are speeding towards an even more glorious tomorrow.